Welcome to EDH 502, Unit 7. In this unit, we will be talking about the importance of promoting self determination and quality of life. Some of the objectives for this particular unit are to define and describe quality of life and self determination, describe and discuss the relationship between positive behavior supports and self determination, discuss the relationships among quality of life, social validity, self determination for people with disabilities. We will also describe and discuss the Bronfenbrenner's bioecological systems theory and its relationship to self determination. We will list and describe the four subsystems of the systems theory, and we will list and describe 12 teaching components of self determination. We will also discuss how self determination is included in PBS for children and youth with challenging behaviors at different ages. What I do want you to remember, the PowerPoint slides are not are supposed to supplement the readings and the book chapter. They do not cover everything that is covered in the readings and book chapters. Oftentimes it supplements the information. We must remember that self determination and control over one's own life is critical for all individuals, including individuals with developmental disabilities. Self determination provides a conceptual foundation for policy, vision, and social systems in the field of developmental disabilities. As the field has evolved from early assumptions about handicap and disability, the central role of the individual has been captured by the construct of self determination. A need, a need exists to link the vision with both existing empirical evidence and overt description of the practices that will help us better realize a society in which self determination represents the life cycle of all individuals. According to the Association for Positive Behavior Supports, a hallmark of PBS planning is its emphasis on improving overall lifestyle quality as an integral part of behavior, and this includes building relationships, including individuals with disabilities in activities that any other individual would be a part of, and also in promoting healthy well being of these individuals. In other words, we can say that positive behavior supports focus not only on reducing behavior problems but on enhancing a person's overall quality of life. And these could include desired states of emotional well being, interpersonal relationships, material well being, personal development, physical well being, social inclusion, self determination, and human rights. We must also remember quality of life for an individual differs over time and between individuals. A good quality of life may mean different things to different people. Quality of life also relates to decisions, choices by the individuals, and wherever possible, personal control over their activities, programs, and interventions and environments. Acceptance of the right to self determination on the part of consumers has major implications for self image, motivation, self expression, and control, as well as health. So, now let's talk about self determination. Self determination refers to individuals exercising the degree of control over their lives that they desire within those areas of life that are important to them. The basic rights of all human beings include their freedom, equality, and power to execute their will. These rights are distinguishable from people themselves and can be given up to others, but only under conditions in which the individual gives their consent. Situations in which basic rights are never granted or when a person is subjected to arbitrary and or absolute will of another are a form of slavery. The attitudes, abilities, and knowledge to set goals for oneself and effectively work toward the achievement of those goals is critical. Control over day to day decisions could include simple things like what to wear, what to eat, what time to go to bed. Control over long time decisions would include where and with whom to live, where to work, what type of work to do. So, what is the relationship between positive behavior supports quality of life and self determination? Multiple research studies find that a person's self determination status predicts higher quality of life. Self determination status is positively correlated with more positive post secondary outcomes, including employment, independent living, and community inclusion for youth with disabilities. Young adults who are more engaged in personally valued recreation activities are more self determined, suggesting a reciprocal relationship between recreation activities and self determination. There are three prominent features that have been listed by Anderson and Freeman that describe PBS. PBS is focused on person centered values. It focuses on recognition of individual needs, and it focuses on outcomes that enhance quality of life. It is important to understand how self determination is connected to more traditional and established behavior interventions and also applied behavior analysis. Students with cognitive disabilities who leave school as self determined young people are more independent 1 year after graduation, are more likely to live somewhere other than where they live in high school 1 year after graduation, are significantly more likely to be employed for pay at higher wages 1 year after graduation, are significantly more likely to be employed in a position that provides health care, sick leave, and vacation benefits 3 years after graduation. And they are significantly more likely to be living independently 3 years after graduation. And some of the quality of life issues that we should consider are person centered planning. There should be a focus on development across the lifespan, roles and functions of the family, joy and happiness, personal well being, and most importantly, we should be working towards making individuals self determined so that they can self advocate for themselves, which would further lead to an increase in the quality of life. Another definition of quality of life by Sherlock in 2000 was that quality of life is a concept that reflects a person's desired condition of living related to 8 core dimensions of one's life. These also include emotional well being, interpersonal relationships, material well being, personal development, self determination, and social inclusion rights. Research has shown that students with disabilities are not major players in their IEP or transition planning meetings. Research has also shown that students with disabilities can learn the skills to be active participants in their IEP transition planning meetings. Research also suggests that student involvement has a reciprocal effect with self determination. That is, students who are more self determined are more likely to be involved in their educational planning. By getting students involved in their planning, independent of their level of self determination, enhances self determination. Therefore, once again, it is very, very important for us to allow students with disabilities to advocate for themselves, because that would once again enhance their ability to be self determined and enhance their quality of life. Self determination as a dimension of quality of life for persons with disabilities has been explored by numerous professionals, and one of the most prominent professionals who has been working on in the field of self-determination, self-advocacy, and quality of life is Waymeyer. And of course, there are a number of other researchers like Schwartz and Sherlock who have played a very, very important role in terms of defining what self-determination means, what quality of life means, what self-advocacy means for individuals with disabilities. Another term that we must keep in mind is social validity. Social validity refers to the extent to which the objectives and outcomes of interventions are meaningful, that is, they are valid for the lives of individuals for which they are intended. So, once again, interventions, we must remember, should be meaningful. They should be something that the individuals can relate to. They should be individualized based on their interests. So it should be person centered, and only then would individuals be able to self advocate for themselves. They would, which would once again lead to self determination and enhanced quality of life. There are four characteristics for determining the extent to which behaviors are self determined. The first one is autonomous functioning, which means acting according to one's preference, free of undue external influence. So, basically, doing what you want to do when you want to do, and so forth. And if you think about yourselves, there are so many times when we are actually doing exactly that, and this actually can be a struggle for individuals with disabilities because they've often found to be dependent on others, and this is something that we need to do away with by making them more self-determined. The next one is self regulation, that is, engaging in self management, goal setting, and attainment, and problem solving. Once again, these are skills that come to us naturally, but these are also skills that we need to teach individuals with disabilities. We want them to able to self manage their own behavior, set goals for themselves, and also problem solve as and when problems come forward. The third characteristic is psychological empowerment, that is, acting on the belief that one can exert control over areas important to him or her, that he or she possesses the skills necessary to exert control, and that exercising those skills will result in desired outcomes. So, once again, something that comes to us naturally, but individuals with disabilities would need support, and they would actually be required to be taught these skills. There is self realization, which is the last characteristic, which is acting on an accurate knowledge of one's strengths and limitations. And once again, it is our responsibility as professionals to help individuals understand what their strengths and limitations are, and based on that, act appropriately. In Unit 1, we talked about the Bronfen-Brenner's biological model, so I'm not going to repeat that here. But if you've forgotten, please make sure you refer to Unit 1 notes. But it basically focuses on the microsystem, mesosystem, exosystem, and macrosystem. Most of us will agree that many, though not all, people with disabilities living in the community do not experience a high quality of life, and these reasons could be multifaceted. Some residential environments support self determination and have a high quality of life. Many do not, as they are full of barriers to an individual living the type of life that they desire. And there are rules and regulations often designed to protect persons with disabilities, which often serve as barriers to the quality of life and self determination. So, keeping the ecological process in mind, we have to try and make sure that we are providing individuals with disabilities to not only interact with their immediate family, but to move ahead and move into the community and then to society as a whole, and be able to make important decisions about their life, the degree of control that they would like, and the exercise of the control. So, our aim should be to make individuals with disabilities as independent as possible. We want them to self advocate for themselves, and this they would only be able to do if they're self determined, and all of this would further lead to an enhanced quality of life. So, it is our responsibility to build collaborative efforts that would enhance self determination skills for children and adults across environments, which should include the home, school, as well as the community. Talking a little about self determination and a systems perspective. A system is an integrated set of parts that function together for some end purpose or result. A family system framework to understand in particular what happens in family in which there is a member with a disability has been explained in a number of research articles, and it is really critical to understand that there are four subsystems: input, process, output, and feedback. Thinking about the system's perspective, it is important to assess and plan for self determination, which would be input. There should be a specific plan of teaching self-determination skills, which would be a process or throughput or basically the procedural steps that we would have to go through, and then outcomes of teaching self determination, which would be outputs and the results. So, this is how self determination functions within the system's perspective for children and adults with disabilities. Once again, self determination should be taught from the very beginning, as soon as individuals are infants and toddlers, moving up to early childhood, elementary school, middle school, and high school, and even post secondary schools. So, once again, if positive behavior supports are implemented the way they are supposed to, by the time the students are leaving school, they would be self-determined individuals, which would also help them curb challenging behaviors. Summary, we must remember that PBS has a central mission of improving the quality of life for children and youth with special needs, as well as for those who do not have disabilities. And one component of quality of life is self determination. We should also remember that with the current status of reforms in education, including unified system reforms and inclusion, it may be expected that in the future self determination will receive increasing attention as both a specific component of the curricula and the classroom, as well as with post secondary instruction and transition programs. So, this would be at all grade levels and will have a broader mission.